Hello, and after a long, long hiatus, welcome back to another edition of Comics and Pop. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Rosen, along with Troy Cannon and Carlos Idarraga. And I'm not going to point fingers as to why we've been away for so long, but it was Carlos. So he promised to make amends for coming back. So let's hear, before we go into, we're going to do Secret Invasion, talk about it. But before we do that, let's hear Carlos make amends. Carlos.
So it's me, right? But you guys didn't send me the memo that we're doing Secret Invasion and we're all gonna paint ourselves as scrolls, right? So I'm the only fool that's painted as a freaking scroll. So it's me. I'm the one. I'm going all. I'll check it out. Like special writing and shit. Look. You know what I mean? What the fuck? We don't curse on this, right? What the hell?
I think we could curse. We've kept our 5 fans really upset with us because during this little hiatus, we've been getting some whatever happened? Why did you guys stop doing it? I watched it, and that's, I think, maybe twisted Carlos's arm to come back a little bit. Also, I think he got wind of Troy and I were planning a separate thing, but so, it's
well, not just that. I think that we were ahead of our time, because they're doing the actors strike and the Hollywood strike. We started our strike a long time ago.
Exactly.
We've been on strike for a long time because honestly, we weren't getting paid really well for this. So now now that we've signed on our new contracts and
we've all reconciled, and I know Troy mentioned to me 20, 30 times. Just get rid of him. And I said, no. Let's wait. Let's give him a shot. And so Troy, tell your cousin that, I'm sorry, he'll have to be on hold for the next podcast.
I told him, I called him yesterday and I'm like, look, Aegis, I know you want to be a part of this show, but you're just going to have to keep doing that boxing and DJing and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And he cried, but
well, I don't blame him, but all right, let's go into Secret Invasion. We got a lot to say on this one, and I got a lot to say about it. I know you guys do. I'll give my thoughts my full thoughts in a minute there too. I went in based on everything that. Now, you know what? I'll wait. I'll go to Troy first. Troy, what are your first initial thoughts on Secret Invasion? The series finished last week, so it's all in the can now. So your initial thoughts on the whole series?
My very first thought, seeing Secret Invasion and now knowing the totality of what was happening, is I am certain now. I'm sorry, I'm still trying to get my thing to sit still. I am certain now that Nick Fury is the Captain Kirk of the Marvel Universe, because Captain Kirk notoriously mated with a green chick, and Nick Fury notoriously mated with a green chick, but she's like a reptilian green chick. And the first thing I thought when she changed was, does he know that that's a lizard? And apparently he didn't care. So my very first thought was that.
Love. Yes.
And I'm thinking, you know what? I'm thinking there were 3 Nick Furies, because we've got the regular Nick Fury, right? And then we've got Talos as Nick Fury. But the Nick Fury we saw seemed old and withered. And the Nick Fury that they implied in the new Marvels seems like old Nick Fury again. So I'm thinking, is there a 3rd Nick Fury, or is he taking some type of super soldier serum so he can get young and strong again? I'm wondering what's up with that.
Carlos, your initial thoughts.
Initial thoughts. As the only certified scroll out of the 3 of us, because freaking dude, is this shit gonna irritate my skin and stuff? I don't even know what's gonna happen, right? I might have to go to the hospital after this.
Were your eyes always so swollen? Never mind. That's fine.
I'm seeing a whole bunch of different things. Maybe it's not the Zoom. Maybe I'm seeing like 3 Jonathans and stuff. So anyway, being that this thing is comics and pop, right? I'm the comic guy, so. Secret Invasion was supposed to be based on the 2008 miniseries by Michael Bendis, which was an 8 part miniseries, which is fantastic, right? But as we know, Disney and Marvel, they have this thing where they like to tell their the people, the writers and the directors, hey, don't read the comic. Basically go and do your own thing, and based on the the current MCU that they've created, and you know what, to a part I don't mind, because everything doesn't have to be comic accurate. And if this would have been comic accurate, this would have been bigger than Endgame, because pretty much every superhero in superhero land is basically in Marvel is in Secret Invasion. It was a miniseries that lasted from like April of 2008 to the end of the year, and it crossed over. It was one came out each month, but they had crossovers into every single title, right? So basically, the original premise was it was similar, but the Skrulls come to Earth, they take over, and they pretty much took the identity of a lot of different superheroes, more than in the actual series. So totally different. So
what did they do with the actual heroes?
Huh?
What did they do with the actual heroes?
They pretty much became, they one of them, the I think, was it the girl who, I think it wasn't Gaia, it was another one, I forgot her name, but she became like Spider-Woman, somebody else became Iron Man. Like, they pretty much took over all the superheroes. It's kind of, I won't really go too into it because it has nothing to do with the Secret Invasion. But Secret Invasion, the TV show, I mean, if I take my comic book geek mind away and I forget that I read Secret Invasion, I enjoyed it, and I understood why they did it. Right? It was kind of like their way to give, as Troy was saying, their way of giving Nick Fury like his own thing, right? Because Nick Fury's always been part of the Avengers. He's been, little snippets here and there, and pretty much everything, but he's never had his own thing. So this was kind of like his own thing, where they even asked him, "Hey, how come you don't call on your friends?" He was like, "Well, no, this is me. This was my fault. I created this, and I have to take care of it." Right? So he was kind of like the superhero. He was the Avenger in this series. So overall, I enjoyed it. Obviously, there's things that we like and we don't like, but I liked it. I mean, it wasn't the best of the Marvel series, but I enjoyed it. It wasn't the worst.
Well, here's my thing. I went in really, really worried about it. And by the way, our producer just shot me a message that for the people just listening, I should let them know that Carlos is in green face, I guess is the only way to say it now. He's in squirrel face. So it's
I'm saying we could get canceled for this, right? Our first show back, and we can get freaking canceled.
If there are
green face.
If there are squirrels offended by this, so it's but I went in not expecting to like it, because based on, I used to be, when we first started doing this, I was saying, oh, Marvel can do no wrong. And then Marvel showed me, yeah, we can do wrong. We can do plenty wrong. and that was like one series after another of doing wrong. So I went in with very low expectations. So, and I think that's how I'm going to go into every Marvel product from now on, because thankfully it exceeded those. I don't think it was great, but I don't think it was terrible. I thought it was just okay. I thought it was enjoyable. I didn't, cringe a lot like I did with She-Hulk, but it was.
She-Hulk was amazing.
She-Hulk might have been an abomination to me, but anyway,
I could have done this for She-Hulk, actually.
Yes, that's true. So, but I thought it was just okay. I left with the same amount, and you know what? You say they don't want to go for the comics, and I'm like thinking, yeah, I don't understand why, because the comics that they put out on this was so much better than the series. But that's another thing. But I'm left wondering the same as kind of Troy, like, how many Nick Furies are there? And is this even the real Nick Fury? Even at the end of the series, I'm wondering, is this the real Nick Fury that, that's in this relationship and everything? But it leads to a lot of questions, which we're going to talk about now. But yeah, I do want to know what's going on with the thing, and we saw kind of that Rhodey has not been Rhodey through several different productions now, so we're left with a lot of questions still. All right, so let's go into those questions. Let's go back to you, Troy.
Okay, first about Rhodey, this is what I'm thinking. When they took him out of that pod, he was wearing his nightgown from the hospital. So I think when he got blasted by Falcon, was it Falcon? Not Falcon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, no,
Falcon.
it wasn't
When he,
Falcon. It was Falcon. Yeah.
when he got blasted and fell, he was unconscious. They took him to the hospital. He was in the road. I think that the scroll took his form in the hospital because everybody else came out wearing clothes. He came out still in a hospital gown. So I think in uh, uh, Cap versus Iron Man, when they did that Civil War, I think Rhodey was a scroll since then. Um, Another thing that I was thinking, what are they going to do with the superpowered scroll Gaia that's flying around with almost everybody's superhuman abilities? She can't be. I was expecting the super scroll from this. Um, and we didn't really, we got super scrolls, plural, but we didn't get the super scroll. And I'm thinking that since Marvel and DC have a kind of a crossing of the paths as far as what they're going to actually do, I think DC was like, hey man, super scrolls are super scroll, nobody's gonna know the difference, just give her all of the powers. And DC's Marvel was like, nah man, we can't do that, that's not what it is. But since the mouse has got all of the money, that's what happened. Also, I think we may have seen the dawn of the FF because when the guy becomes a super scroll and they're showing all of the names of the things that he took, if you think Reed Richards' ability to stretch, he kind of had that because he had Groot and he had his ability to stretch and stuff. A little bit of a stretch, but he had his ability to stretch. Then he had the ability to produce fire and flame and heal himself with his fire powers. Like I'm at a loss. We haven't done this in a while, and I'm geeking out because you guys are on screen with me right now. But they had the guy when had the breathe fire guy that fought Iron Man.
Mhm.
He had fire powers, and then they got was it Obsidian when he had the leathery rock like skin and the superhuman strength. That's kind of like the thing. So I'm thinking if you take these and um, Fury called it the harvest. So with the harvest, if you take the harvest and you take certain things out and you use American technology and tweak it a little bit, that stretching of the limbs from Groot, they could give it to a human, perfect it like they perfected the super soldier serum, hit him with some Vita rays, and Captain America was different from Bradley and all the previous guys. They tweak that from Groot, and now a human still looks like a human when he stretches. They tweak the thing for the Iron Man villain. I can't. It escapes me right now. They tweak that, and now you've got a human that can produce flames and fly. You know, instead of spewing fire, he can fly and he controls flames. Instead of the Thanos guy that could had the leathery, tough rock-like skin and superhuman strength, they tweak that, and now you've got the thing. I'm not. It's a big stretch for Sue Richards, but I think she fits in there also, especially if they've got the entirety of the harvest to use. So instead of having a ship get rocketed into space and they crash land into some cosmic rays and come back superhuman, the government could have created them from the harvest. So the FF might actually be there somewhere now, coming out of their tubes to form their team. One last thing. I'm not so sure that we've seen the last of the scrolls because this is it. If I was planning on taking over the earth and I had people in strategic places and we had already got people in power, so we basically are running the show, right? If they really wanted a plan just in case the Avengers came back, instead of saying, the Avengers are strong, so I'm going to make myself strong. So when they show up, I can get into a fist fight with them. Why put all your eggs into a fist fight? Because clearly they lost that fight. They got the brakes beat off of them. If they're smart, and I mean, they're a technologically advanced race from space, man, they're like Steve Rogers said, it's an army from space. So if it were me, and I know they're not me, but if it were me in those pods when the humans finally won and took those guys out, I would have planted a couple of scrolls in those pods. So when they think, oh, we're saving, the president of China. No, you're not. You just took a scroll out and then you just put him in the spot, man. So now there's a scroll in there and nobody's the wiser because they think for sure they just saved that dude. Could be a stretch.
I don't think it's the last of the skulls by any means. I think we're going to definitely see more skulls. I mean, because they've already introduced them, I think we're going to see them. But yeah, I'll go back to my thoughts a second. Carlos, your next thoughts.
The hell with Secret Invasion? I wonder if this stuff comes out, dude. What the hell, bro? I'm an idiot. But all right, so it goes back to
Is this supposed to be red blotches on your cheeks also now, or
exactly. My lips are blue. Why? But
your skin is smoking.
I know. So I mean, it goes back to, I guess, our original conversation when we watched Captain Marvel and reviewed Captain Marvel, and the Skrulls were like this good, wholesome people race, where in the comics the Skrulls are bad. In the comic book Secret Invasion, the Skrulls are bad, bro. They're bad. In the end, they kill them all. You know what I mean? Osborn kills the queen, whatever. Osborn, because what happens at the end of this, I think the government dissolves. They do away with Shield, I believe, and then they bring in Osborn and Oscorp, and then they start the whole Dark Reign thing that they did in the comics, where Osborn and all the the evil guys took over for a little while of the Avengers, right? But so to me, it's kind of hard to deal with the whole Skrulls being good and some of them wanting to save the earth, and they're like, no, Skrulls are bad. So right, so and one of the things that Troy said, which was interesting, right, when he said that how Rhodey, he might have became a Skrull, whatever, he might have taken over when he was in a hospital, and if you remember it in Secret Invasion, what's her name, Vara, the one who was married to Nick Fury, she took over the character that played his wife, whatever, because she met her in a hospital and she was dying, and she took over her identity. So maybe that's how Skrulls, were taking over like a lot of people's identities, people that were in hospitals, maybe that were dying and stuff, and they just, took over them, and they didn't die, and they, continued on. But the real person died, but the Skrull didn't, and they took the life of the person, whatever, But man, I mean, it's like I said, to me, the whole Super Skrull thing, like you said, like you were explaining about, the thing, and how the Fantastic Four, I mean, they kind of like have to exist because the Skrulls were introduced in the Fantastic Four, and the Super Skrull, his powers are,
That's why I think they're coming back, because we haven't seen the Fantastic Four yet, right?
Right, exactly. So, right, but his powers are the powers of the Fantastic Four. He turns into the thing, and he can become invisible, and he has the Human Torch, whatever, and he can stress like Mr. Fantastic. But to me, so basically, you had two Super Skrulls, right? You had a bad one, and you had Gaia, who's supposed to be a good one, but we don't really know because technically she was a rebel at first. She was with them, but the only reason she kind of switched over was because of her dad, kind of like for the love of her dad. Her dad kind of like put some sense into her, but that doesn't mean anything. She can turn out to be bad. I mean, one of the things that I didn't like about this is that they didn't really link it to. Usually, when Marvel does shows or movies, they always link it, and they show something in the end and they link it to the next project. They didn't do this with this.
Yeah.
And you have the Marvels coming out. It's like, how perfect would it have been to have Gaia, who's the Super Skrull now, have her fight the Marvels. You know what I mean? She got the powers, whatever. Everybody, so have have her be the baddie in the Marvels and link it together. For some reason, they didn't do that. Not sure why. So that's one of the things that made me think like, they should have linked that. That made a lot of sense, being that the Skrulls were introduced in Miss Marvel. Then you have Secret Invasion. Now you have the Marvels coming out, which is the next project. Why not link it all together so it could be continuous? So that was kind of weird to me. Maybe they are, and they just didn't want to give it up. That's what's going to happen. But I don't know, that part I kind of like didn't like, I guess. But I mean, other than that, I don't know, man. I still struggle with there being good Skrulls. I just still do.
Well, here's my thing. I'm just going to go back to the disappointment and a lot of the things in the series. Like I said, I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was great. You killed one of the people that, the beloved characters, like early on in the series. You killed Maria Hill first off, like, one of the first few episodes. Like, why? And then it didn't, I think even if you're going to have more impact later on in the series, but they killed off one of the interesting characters, and I kept thinking, oh well, she's going to be coming back because it's like the old bait and switch. She's going to be coming back in like the next episode or toward the end again. Nah, nothing. I thought the special effects were nothing great, and so it's any 13-year-old kid at home can do better special effects on their iPad than I'm seeing what Marvel's been doing lately, and I don't understand why. And it just seems like Disney is having this whole budget thing because all their stuff is bombing, so they're cutting back on budget everywhere, and that's what pissed me off too. If they're cutting back everywhere, I was waiting for the post-credit scene. It's been the staple of every series, like every Marvel movie, every Marvel series has been at least one or two down the line. So I was thinking one at the halfway point, one at the end. Nothing at the halfway point. I said, all right, that's fine, but they'll definitely put one at the end. And I wasn't even thinking Marvels. I'm thinking this is the time that they're going to introduce the Fantastic Four. They're going to just have maybe some shot of the Baxter building or some shot of like, a space thing or whatever, or Dr. Doom even. Just something to introduce Fantastic Four because the Skrulls are a Fantastic Four villain. So nothing. They couldn't even give that. Marvel does nothing right now. Just nothing right. It was very disappointing. Again, I do want to see what's going to happen next with the Skrulls. I don't think the Skrulls are done by any means. I think we're going to have them in any Fantastic Four thing. But yeah, I don't. The Marvels are already hearing is in like deep trouble there. Like it's getting really bad. We could talk about that another day, but it's getting really bad. Pre-screening, testing. So Marvel is in trouble right now. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're thinking, their thought processes behind a lot of things, but they're not giving the fans, to me, what they want in a lot of things. They're belligerent and saying, we're going to do what we want to do. We don't care about what the fans want. They're not giving anything to the fans, and that's one of the problems here. So I don't know.
I think that Jonathan's still upset that you never got Mephisto. Give him Mephisto. Give him Mephisto.
But that was the perfect time for Mephisto, yes. But we'll talk about all that. Like, so where do you think? All right, so where do you think we're going next, Troy? Where do you think we're going next on this?
Well, something that stuck out as a surprise that I'm not sure a lot of people caught. Comic book guys probably caught it, but Sonya Falsworth was really good in this.
He was awesome,
lady. But I've got a gun in my purse. She was really cool. Is that she's the daughter of Union Jack, the granddaughter of Union Jack from the Invaders, and they never mention it. I was like, well, they got to mention Union Jack. They got to. But she never said anything about her grandfather, and she never said nothing about nothing. And I'm like, well, what's up with that? I mean, this is Captain America's British homeboy, and they didn't do anything. But I don't know why they didn't do that.
I think a lot of people, Troy, sorry to interrupt, but that be talking about her. A lot of people say, because a lot of people think that what's his name, the guy who played Superman,
Cavill.
Yeah, a lot of people think that Henry Cavill is going to be Captain Britain. Yeah, and obviously they're going to bring in that whole British angle. So a lot of people were saying, they could have snuck that in there as well with Sonya.
They had a few British teams that are cool. They got the they got the MI6. You can kind of say they've got the Invaders and right. that offshoot of the X-Men that's over there. They've got some stuff. Hopefully they're holding it and they're going to surprise us with it. Speaking about surprises, I don't think that Hill is dead because she's got to eventually take over S.H.I.E.L.D. And where they're going now, if this were the comic book, where they're going now, America loses faith in S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. is gone, but they've already got SWORD in the sky. So the only thing left, like Carlos said, is Hammer. They got to have Hammer. They got to let the villains take over, and they've got to bring out, the villains conquer everything. And Osborn has got to steal an Iron Man suit. And I think they're kind of leading towards it when the president said every extraterrestrial being on Earth he's considering a threat and he's going to kill them all. So he's already got the idea to kill all of the aliens on Earth. So with that, he's got the Val and her team. He's got the guy who will eventually become the president. He's got the Red Hulk, Thunderbolt Ross. He's got a few agents who they kind of want to kill people anyway. And if he wants to kill all aliens on Earth, who better to start off with than the Asgardians, who are aliens who are living on Earth? You can't find a scroll. It's a needle in a haystack. It's Waldo. It's my left sock after the dryer. You can't find that thing, man. But you can find New Asgard and you can send people in. And that was the storyline directly after the Skrulls storyline was the heroes / the villains, pretending to be heroes, attacking, it was Braxton in the comic books, but New Asgard and fighting the Asgardians. I think that's the buildup for the next thing. I think that's what's coming next, besides Kang Wars, of course.
Close.
I don't know. I'm like you, Jonathan. I'm like, usually they give you a little something at the end of the freaking episodes to tell you what's coming next. But we got freaking Ugats. We got nothing. You know what I mean? So it's like I said, I'm more worried about, freaking side effects of this freaking idiot thing that I mean, I know the Marvels are coming next. I mean, how do you not rewrite it and include this stuff? How do you not include the Skrulls now that we know the guy is a fucking super Skrull, the freaking super Skrull? How do you not, have her being now? You made a woman super Skrull, so have her fight the freaking girl Marvels. I mean, it's like common sense, right? But I mean, I don't know if they're not thinking straight or like you said, I mean, give us something. The Skrulls are directly linked to the Fantastic Four. Their superpowers are supposed to be that of the Fantastic Four. How do you not,
that really disappointed me. Really,
with the Fantastic Four, it's just mind-boggling. I mean, taking all that out of it, like I said, I mean, the series itself, I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was horrible. It was, I love Nick Fury. I love, Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury. I love his character. I think it's cool. Like you said, what we were saying before, the lady, what's her name? Sonya Falsworth. He was fantastic. I mean, I agree with Jonathan. Maria Hill, Kobe Smulders, she's a freaking hottie. How do you kill her off? She's like one of the, major character. If you're gonna kill her off, make her a Skrull, right? I mean, maybe she was a Skrull. She could have been one of the Skrulls. You don't kill out the actual Kobe Smulders. And they did it in the first episode. It was kind of anticlimactic too. Like they kind of caught to catch you, it was kind of like, and then it just, I don't know, it just didn't make sense. There was no reason to kind of kill her off. I mean, to piss off Samuel Jackson? He was already pissed that he had to come back. He didn't want to come back. He was happy where he was.
Once Colby Smulders went down, like that was it. My interest level just plummeted.
That's the thing. Actually, if you think about it, he probably got away. He probably went to that spaceship to get away from his freaking alien wife. He didn't want to have anything to do with her and stuff. And now he had to come back and he had to revisit everything and stuff. And then she was all extra. Oh, you have to love me how I am. And then he had to make out with her. Alien and make out with her. Think about it. Imagine it if you could marry a woman who can shapeshift and she can shapeshift into any woman that you want, right? But no, I want you to love me as a freaking green, funky looking alien. No, I want you to change into Sofia Vergara tonight and and Kobe's mother's the next day and stuff. You know what I mean? Come on, man. Ooh. I got angry there. I'm sorry. But anyway, They could have went a different route with this, and that was kind of disappointing. But yeah, I mean, Marvel is known for giving you something at the end, and not giving anything was not cool, man. Not cool.
Yeah, and here's to me where I think we're going next, and here's the big problem leaving this series. I don't really care all that much right now. That's one of the things. It's like, you know,
It was yeah, it was like, yeah.
yeah, that's one of the things. I wanted to have something to be. You know, like you said, I like this more than I thought I would, but you know, it's not giving me anything. There's nothing. I'm not convinced that the Marvels is coming out really. I'm, you know, I don't know if it'll be pushed back, delayed. It's not doing well in pre-screen. I keep saying that. I keep reading all these things that it's not doing well. It's not testing well at all. And the Ms. Marvel series tanked in ratings. So I'm not convinced that it's going to be so quickly that it's coming out. But right now, there's nothing really that's exciting for me. I was hoping, I really was the same thing. I was hoping just give a glimmer, give something to the fans, give a, you know, just some like foreshadowing of the Fantastic Four. That was the perfect time to do it. So I don't know. It's I'm not.
Did we ever review Miss Marvel, or was it after we decided? Troy decided.
I think someone, again, no names, but Carlos. I think that was when he left in the. I think so. I'm not sure, but so all right, let's.
I kind of like Miss Marvel.
Yeah.
I watched it. Really liked it.
Well, I didn't say. I thought there were a lot of fun parts. I thought she was endearing, the main character in Ms. Marvel. It did not do well. His ratings
Right.
did not do well.
There's definitely no disagreement on that.
Yeah. So Troy, what do you give this series on a scale, you know, 1 to 10?
On a scale of 1 to 10, I was looking for, because they kept pushing it as a spy thriller similar to the Captain America one, and it was not. I could see where they were going, but it was I could see where they missed it. So I would give this a 6.
Carlos?
Man, as a scroll, I really wanted to give it a high score, you know. But I'm gonna have to agree with Troy, bro. It was probably like a 6, 6.5. I can't even give it a 7, and I'm always pretty fair with you. I try to give them good grades because it's Marvel, and I want everyone to watch it and like it. But yeah, I'm gonna be probably like a 6.5 because they dropped the ball on a lot of things, and like I said, I mean, the biggest drop of all was not linking it to what's coming up next, not giving us anything. Kind of like, oh, that's it, and then he gets on a spaceship like E.T. or something, with his freaking alien shape-shifting wife that, I don't want to talk about that anymore, but yeah, I mean, 6.5, bro. Let's just leave it at a 6.5.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. My initial thought is 5, but I enjoyed it more than that. Like I said, I went in expecting to hate it, so I was, more surprised that I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. I thought right around a 6 was a perfect score for this. And anyway, let us know in the comments what you guys think. If you like it, didn't like it, disagree with us, what you were hoping to see in the future. And we promise we're going to be back much more regularly now, and we have a good one. If Carlos doesn't go to the ER, we'll be back regularly, and we have to talk about. We do have to talk about a certain movie that was my favorite in the Marvel franchise, the third installment. We do have to talk about that, Guardians of the Galaxy. We'll do that next time. And again, I'm Jonathan Rosen, along with Troy Cannon and Carlos Idarraga, and please subscribe.
Subscribe.